What's your take on this tax cut bill? I mean, if you hear, let's hear him again. Donald Trump yesterday at the White House making the big brag that everybody's going to be thankful for this tax cut.
Actually, I think it's going to benefit everybody. It's going to mostly benefit people looking for jobs more than anything else because we're giving great incentives.
No. So this is the Leave No Billionaire Behind Act.
Who's thinking about the billionaires, Ben?
Exactly, the forgotten man.
Yes, that's right.
You know, and Betsy DeVos, forgotten women.
That's right.
So one education expert called this the Betsy DeVos tax cut because it simultaneously massively, like hundreds of millions of dollars cuts taxes for Betsy DeVos's heirs, and at the same time, by ending the deduction for state and local taxes, it creates this gigantic pressure on school budgets because states and cities who pay for schools for their taxes, suddenly those taxes are going to be 30, 40% more expensive for people to pay. So I've heard ALEC is already planning to go on a scorched earth campaign to try to cut state and local taxes, which will half of which go to fund schools. So one estimate is $370 billion in school funding is at risk if this tax cut goes through for the rich. It's just like a accelerating oligarchy plan. It raises taxes for 87 million families, middle class people, working class people. The newest analysis says that right away, the average person earning $30,000 or under gets a tax increase. After a few years, the average person under $40,000 gets a tax increase, and by 2026. The average person earning $75,000 or under gets a tax increase. So it's taking money from working and middle-class people and shoveling it into the pockets of the ultra-wealthy. If you're a billionaire, you stand to make hundreds of millions of dollars, depending on which version of this gets through with the estate tax repeal. Not only that, there's all these giant loopholes that seem to be custom-made for Donald Trump himself.
Right.
They eliminate all these different tax deductions that middle-class people rely on, but they keep the one for owners of golf courses for some reason. That's still there. Who
owns golf courses?
Get rid of the estate tax.
They get rid of the estate tax. So the House version eliminates it entirely. The Senate version doubles the exemption to $11 million, which I'm sure a lot of us have been wishing that the exemption was higher than $5.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
No. And we don't know which version they'll end up with.
And the alternative minimum tax, which we know cost Donald Trump $35 million one year.
That's right. That's the main because he dodged taxes in so many other ways. The alternative minimum tax is the main way he pays taxes. That's gone. And there's also this big tax cut for owners of pass-through entities. Now they say this is the tax cut for small businesses, but in fact, a lot of very big businesses are pass-through entities, like say the Trump Organization.
Mm-hmm.
So there's actually a fight between Ron Johnson, who owns a multi-million-dollar pass-through entity, a corporation that his brother-in-law started and he bought from him. He wants a bigger tax cut for himself. So he's holding out and saying there's not enough tax cuts for small business. Ron Johnson is, of course, a decimillionaire. And Trump seems very excited about that. He tweeted yesterday that there's going to be, mathematical ways we can improve this tax cut. And it looks like they'll make a last-minute change that benefits Trump personally, as well as the multimillionaires in the Senate who will personally get giant tax cuts because they're pushing harder for it.
Paul Krugman, in his excellent column this morning in the New York Times, calling it the biggest tax scam ever, makes a point that the people who mainly benefit from this legislation proposal are people who really don't work for a living. I mean, there are people who have all these investments, right? And
that's right.
They're not out there.
The war on work. I mean, the fundamental thing in this bill, everything is wrapped around is a giant permanent tax cut for corporations.
Yeah.
For big corporations. They cut taxes for corporations by 43%, from 35% to 20%, which is almost half. It's a giant giveaway. And when I say permanent, someone asked me yesterday, like, what do you mean permanent? Can't they just change the law? Yeah, they in theory, you could change the law again. But what the Republicans are doing, they know that it's hard to raise taxes because Republicans vote against it every single time. And so what they've done is they've included a few little tax cuts for the middle class and working people that all expire after a few years.
Right.
After that, it's just tax increases for regular people because they change the way tax brackets are calculated. So over time, taxes on middle class families go up a little bit every year. And meanwhile, they have a permanent tax cut for corporations. So the way they're paying for that is by raising taxes on everyone else. That's step one. And step two is that this blows up the deficit by $1.5 trillion, which they will then try to pay for by cutting Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. And they are already saying that. They're saying next year is the year of entitlement reform, which means cutting the social programs that middle and working class people rely on in this country.
Right. Now, their response to the fact that the corporate tax cuts are permanent and the others are not is, well, you can count on the fact that when that time comes where those taxes on individuals, middle class, would go up again, the Congress will step in and not allow that to happen. In other words, you can count on the future Congresses never allowing your taxes to go up.
Yeah, I'm sure that's right. No. I mean,
that's such a phony argument.
It's such a phony argument.
Trust me, I'm from the government. I'm here to help you, right?
Well, it's also point two. They're making a huge deal about this deficit. Like, their whole thing is whenever there's a Democrat in power, they get obsessed with deficits. So they're not going to.
I mean, they were obsessed with the deficit
all through the Obama administration.
Obsessed with the deficit during Obama.
This
is
what
came
they
up with
for.
This pay. What was it? Pay-go?
Sequestration.
But I'm talking the
pay-go rule.
Policy of pay.
Yeah, pay-go. So this
pay-go, right.
Well,
you could not add $1 to the budget unless you took $1 away.
Yeah. We saw the sequestration. We saw all this stuff that just sort of that Obama went along with, but because it was there was a deficit.
So this is what this is their plan. They grow the deficit and they use it to slash programs for regular people. They don't do it to give tax breaks to middle class people. They could do that right now if they wanted to do that. They're not doing that. Something that people aren't really talking about is that under the pay-go rule that you're referencing, that Congress, the Republican Congress demanded under Obama.
Yeah.
If they pass the tax cut
dollar for dollar,
immediately it locks in to place, unless Congress overrides it, these massive cuts. This bill, if Congress passed this tax cut bill and then didn't override the automatic cuts, it would mean $400 billion in cuts to Medicare over the next 10 years. Under these automatic budget rules they're working under. So Republicans demanded these rules that would automatically cut Medicare if the deficit increases. Then they're passing this giant tax cut. Then they're going to ask the Democrats to bail them out and undo the automatic cuts to Medicare.
Right.
This is, I mean, you know that they're going to come again next spring. I mean, they've said it over and over. They're going to try to attack these programs next spring if they get this through right now. So this is, make no mistake, this isn't just about whether your taxes go up or down by a couple $100 or if you're a billionaire, a couple $1 billion. This is also about the bedrock programs that support the middle class in this country and keep seniors and kids out of poverty.